He picked up a shivering dog from the street, thinking it was just another rescue. But less than 24 hours later, the dog's actions would drag police to his doorstep and reveal a truth so shocking, the entire neighborhood was left speechless. Before we start, make sure to hit like, share, and subscribe. And really, I'm curious, where are you watching from? Drop your country name in the comments. I love seeing how far our stories travel. The evening air carried a chill as Daniel walked home from work, his footsteps echoing along the quiet street. The sun had slipped behind the horizon, painting the sky in streaks of orange and fading gray. Everything seemed ordinary, until he spotted a small shape on the roadside, curled against the curb. At first, he thought it was nothing more than discarded clothing. But as he drew closer, the shape stirred. A tiny German Shepherd puppy lifted its head, eyes glistening with fear and exhaustion. Its fur was matted, its body trembling from the cold. Daniel froze, his heart twisting at the sight. The puppy didn't bark or run. It just stared, as if silently pleading for someone to notice. Daniel crouched, stretching out a cautious hand. The pup flinched but didn't retreat. His instincts screamed that leaving it behind wasn't an option. With one deep breath, he scooped the fragile creature into his arms, unaware that this single act of kindness was about to change his life forever. Daniel carried the puppy carefully through the dimly lit street, its small body pressed against his chest. He could feel the rapid heartbeat beneath its fragile ribs, each tremor tugging at his conscience. By the time he reached his front door, the puppy's head rested limply on his arm, too weak to resist. Inside, Daniel set the pup gently on a blanket and hurried to the kitchen. A bowl of water, a small plate of food, anything to help. Yet, the little dog only sniffed, barely touching either. Instead, its wide eyes followed Daniel's every move, unblinking, as if studying him. The silence was unsettling. He decided to clean the pup, filling a basin with warm water. As he wiped away the dirt, he noticed faint scars etched along its legs. Whoever this dog belonged to, life hadn't been kind. When he finally wrapped it in a towel, the puppy nestled quietly against him. Daniel exhaled slowly, unaware that he hadn't simply taken in a lost dog. He had invited in a mystery. That night, Daniel placed the puppy in a small box lined with towels near the couch. But the moment he turned off the lights, a soft whimper echoed through the room. The pup scrambled out of the box, dragging its tiny body across the floor until it reached Daniel's bedroom door. Daniel hesitated, but finally let it stay. The puppy curled tightly against the doorway, refusing the comfort of a bed or blanket. Its ears twitched at every faint creak of the house, its body stiff, alert. Several times in the night, Daniel woke to hear a low growl vibrating from the hallway. Each time he checked, nothing was there, just empty silence beyond the windows. Yet the growls weren't random. They carried weight, like warnings. Daniel lay awake, staring at the ceiling, unease prickling his skin. This wasn't the behavior of a weak, lost puppy. It was vigilance, unyielding, relentless. The little dog hadn't chosen to rest by his door for comfort. It had chosen to guard him. The next morning, Daniel shuffled toward the front door, still groggy from a restless night. But when he reached for the handle, his stomach tightened. Deep scratches clawed across the wood, marks that hadn't been there before. They were fresh, splintering the frame like someone, or something, had tried to force its way inside. His eyes darted to the puppy. The little shepherd was already awake, pacing the hallway with nervous energy, ears flicking at every sound. When Daniel opened the door, the pup growled low, teeth bared at the empty yard beyond. The street looked calm, sunlight spilling across the pavement, but the dog's tense body said otherwise. Later that day, neighbors stopped by, their faces uneasy. One whispered about seeing shadows moving near Daniel's house after midnight. Another swore they heard footsteps crunching in the gravel, though no one was there when they checked. Daniel tried to laugh it off, but the truth gnawed at him. The dog wasn't restless without reason. Something unseen was circling his home. That night, the air felt heavier, pressing against the windows like an unseen weight. Daniel tried to sleep, but the puppy wouldn't settle. Instead, it stood rigid at the bedroom door, ears pricked, eyes locked on the darkness beyond the hallway. Each time Daniel shifted, the dog's growl rumbled low and steady. Around midnight, a faint noise broke the silence, a creak of gravel, the hush of deliberate footsteps outside. Daniel held his breath, straining to listen. There it was again, closer this time. He glanced at the pup, whose entire body vibrated with tension, hackles raised, ready to strike. This was no ordinary restlessness. Daniel crept toward the window, but when he pulled back the curtain, the yard was empty. Still, the sense of being watched clung to him, chilling his blood. He turned back to the puppy, who hadn't moved. An inch, gaze fixed on the door. In that moment, Daniel realized the truth. This wasn't a lost dog seeking shelter. This was a guardian, one who had chosen him for a reason. By morning, Daniel's nerves were frayed. The dog hadn't slept, and neither had he. Determined to prove or disprove his growing fear, he called the local police to report the strange noises. An officer arrived, notebook in hand, listening quietly as Daniel explained the scratches, the footsteps, and the dog's relentless vigilance. The officer examined the doorframe, his brow furrowing. "These aren't animal marks," he muttered, tracing the splintered wood. "Someone tried forcing this open." He stepped outside, crouching in the gravel. Fresh footprints trailed along the side of the house, disappearing into the bushes. Daniel's chest tightened. It hadn't been his imagination. Someone had been there. The officer straightened, his tone serious now. "Whoever it was, they'll likely be back." Daniel's stomach twisted, his gaze drifting to the puppy pacing anxiously near the porch. For the first time, he saw the pup differently. It hadn't wandered to him by accident. It had sensed the threat long before he did. Shaken, Daniel took the pup to the local vet, hoping answers might lie in its past. The veterinarian ran gentle hands along the dog's fur, then reached for a scanner. A faint beep filled the room as the microchip registered, and within moments, the screen displayed a name that froze Daniel's breath. The puppy wasn't just a stray. He had belonged to a retired police officer who had passed away weeks earlier. The file revealed something even more startling. The dog had been specially trained, bred for loyalty and protection, part of the officer's K-9 service before his retirement. Locals, overhearing at the clinic, exchanged whispers. They remembered the officer's death, how the dog had disappeared soon after, vanishing without a trace. Many assumed it had been stolen or lost to the streets. But now, the truth was undeniable. The little shepherd hadn't simply wandered into Daniel's life. It had sought him out, carrying the weight of its training and its purpose, as if destiny itself had delivered it to his doorstep. That night, Daniel sat awake, the officer's file spread across his table. The truth felt heavier than he could process. The dog hadn't stumbled into his life by accident. It had been trained to protect, and somehow, it had chosen him. As if the loyalty it once gave its master had been passed on. Near midnight, a sharp rattle echoed at the back door. Daniel froze, every nerve alive with dread. Before he could move, the puppy leapt to its feet, growling, body rigid like steel. A shadow shifted outside the window, followed by the metallic scrape of a lockpick. His heart pounded. The danger was real, closer than ever. The door burst, but before the intruder could step through, the pup lunged with explosive force. Snarls filled the room, the attacker stumbling back into the dark as neighbors' lights flicked on. Sirens soon followed, the intruder caught. Fleeing down the street, Daniel sank to his knees, breathless, eyes on the trembling pup. He thought he had rescued a lost dog, but the truth was, the dog had rescued him.